After Germany's defeat in World War I and the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, the country was not only forced to pay massive financial reparations, but also stripped of parts of its territory and real political sovereignty, an outcome that for many Germans felt far worse than a military loss, and instead resembled a deep national humiliation that cut into the collective pride of an entire society. The combination of these crushing reparations with the enormous debts Germany had accumulated during the war pushed the economy toward total collapse, eventually triggering one of the most severe hyperinflations in modern history, a crisis in which the national currency lost its value almost daily, and wages that were paid in the morning could become practically worthless by the evening. As everyday life turned into a constant struggle for survival, anger, frustration, and a sense of betrayal gradually replaced hope, creating a society that was increasingly desperate to hear the voice of someone who could give meaning to its suffering and direct its growing rage. And it was precisely from this atmosphere of economic ruin, social breakdown, and wounded national pride that a man emerged who presented himself as Germany's savior, Adolf Hitler, someone who did not see the defeat of World War I as an ending, but as an injustice that demanded revenge and the restoration of Germany's lost greatness. One of the biggest lessons Germany had learned from World War I was that modern war, you see, it just couldn't be allowed to turn into a long, exhausting struggle trapped in trench warfare, where time, resources, and morale just slowly bled away. Based on this lesson, Hitler chose to rely on younger, more innovative commanders, encouraging them to abandon old military thinking and develop new ways of fighting that emphasized speed, coordination, and shock. In 1937, German officer Heinz Guderian presented this vision in his writings, arguing for the simultaneous and tightly coordinated use of tanks, armored units, and air power. A truly revolutionary approach that soon became known as Blitzkrieg, the Lightning War. According to this theory, the German army chose not to become trapped in a long and exhausting war on multiple fronts, but instead concentrated all of its strength on a single front, one where the enemy's weakness was first carefully identified and then subjected to intense, coordinated bombardment by air power and artillery. Following these devastating strikes, armored and ground forces advanced rapidly under continuous air support, penetrating deep into enemy positions and denying the opponent any chance to regroup, reorganize, or mount an effective defense. This operational strategy not only inflicted heavy military losses, but also produced a powerful psychological effect, a sudden, paralyzing fear that pushed many enemies to consider surrender even before total defeat became inevitable. But there was a serious problem hidden inside this strategy. To make such a rapid and relentless form of warfare work, an infantry soldier had to march for hours with constant alertness and full energy. Tank crews often had to operate for nearly 2 days without sleep while advancing non-stop. And bomber pilots could be pushed to their limits, sometimes flying missions after 72 hours without proper rest in order to deliver massive aerial attacks. It was at this point that a powerful sense of urgency emerged within the Nazi German military, a growing realization that this kind of warfare demanded more than training and discipline alone. The army began to feel an intense need for something that could make soldiers bolder, more resistant to exhaustion, and capable of maintaining sharp focus far beyond normal human limits. Well, in the 1930s, the pharmaceutical company Temmler, they developed a drug originally intended to treat depression and sleep disorders, which was also sold freely on the market. In their advertisements, the company claimed that this drug could provide users with a sense of alertness, energy, and vitality. This drug was called Pervitin, a type of methamphetamine. The drug quickly caught the attention of German army generals, and in 1938 it was introduced experimentally into the military. The results, especially at higher doses, were extraordinary. Soldiers became remarkably fearless, charging directly into danger with a level of bravery previously unseen. Their efficiency skyrocketed, sometimes allowing them to operate for 3 days straight without any noticeable drop in energy. Tank crews improved their targeting accuracy, and the overall coordination of units became astonishingly precise. In this way, the German army had found a method to execute the Blitzkrieg strategy effectively. By 1939, Germany launched its war, and within roughly a year, it had fully occupied Western Europe, a feat that was nothing short of extraordinary. By 1941, strange and alarming events were unfolding inside the German army. One surviving letter from a German soldier reveals the depth of the crisis. "For several nights, I have not slept. I am overwhelmed by uncontrollable anxiety and fear. I misinterpret sounds and shadows, and I feel as if something is moving around me, something that is not real. Many soldiers were suffering from hallucinations. Accidental shootings became increasingly common, while cases of self-harm and suspicious non-combat deaths began to rise. Some frontline commanders developed serious heart problems, and the number of heart attacks increased noticeably. One condition in particular became widespread: psychosis. Most striking of all, the fighting spirit of the army, once terrifyingly strong, had begun to collapse. Meanwhile, many soldiers had developed a severe dependence on Pervitin, and over time their dosages kept increasing as their bodies could no longer maintain the same level of performance without the drug. Documents and surviving letters from that period reveal that some soldiers even asked their families to send them Pervitin from home, requests that clearly showed the substance was no longer being used as a temporary military aid. In reality, many of these soldiers had become unintentionally addicted to a drug that was meant to make them stronger, but was now slowly taking control of their bodies and minds. It was a hidden addiction, spreading silently within one of the most powerful armies of its time. The German army never officially disclosed the full extent of the side effects caused by these drugs, but reports coming from the front lines made one thing clear: rates of suicide, severe depression, and even incidents of soldiers firing on their own units were rising dramatically. These rumors began to take on the weight of reality when, in late 1941, the German military started to restrict the use of Pervitin, and by 1942 it was effectively removed from general military use, remaining authorized only in specific units, such as bomber pilots. But this was not the end of the story. Rather than abandoning the idea altogether, the German military continued experimenting with new substances, still searching for a chemical solution that could turn their soldiers into something more than human, into tireless, fearless super soldiers. In my view, the victories and defeats of an army depend on a wide range of factors and cannot be easily explained. However, it is fascinating to note that the timing of Germany's setbacks coincided with the reduction of this drug, suggesting a striking connection between the two. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. It really helps us keep creating more content like this. And make sure to stay tuned for our upcoming videos, where we dive deeper into the hidden stories of history. See you in the next episode.